Let's talk about the NBA Eastern Conference win totals. There's going to be some teams on here that are going to exceed expectations. Some of them are going to fall below that expectation or just meet that win total. And I want to talk about it with you guys because there's some intriguing teams out in the Eastern Conference this season. Obviously, this prediction is subject to change based on moves in the NBA. It always happens day in and day out. There might be a trade in the future that would sway my prediction, but I do want to get right into this. So first off, the Atlanta Hawks, 46.5 wins. Now, this offseason, they had a really good pickups with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You still have Dyson Daniels. You went and got Luke Kennard for three-point shooting. You also got Kristaps Porzingis in the trade. And you've got a nice rotation here. You're going to invest more in Okongwu and Jalen Johnson, which I do like. You still have Dyson Daniels in your backcourt. So that perimeter defense of NWA and Dyson Daniels is going to give them a lot of versatility. We don't know about Richard's upside, but he looked really good as a rookie. And who knows what's going to happen with his potential. And you still have Trae Young running the point guard position. At this point, maybe you need another guy off the bench just to add more depth. They're about 8 men deep when you look at who they can rely on. And there's other guys that are going to get a role on this team outside of the 8 guys I just mentioned. So the Hawks are set up for success. If I had a win total for them, I'm going to go above 46.5. I would have them around like 49, 50 wins. On to the Boston Celtics. I love my Celtics, but I think 43.5 is too high in my opinion. I think they're going to just do a good enough job with, getting some offense from Jaylen Brown, Derek White. But outside of that, Anthony Simons, he's a nice offensive scorer, but they're going to be really bad on defense. The front court, super questionable. You're going to have Luke Garza out there, Namus Cade. I know they just brought in Boucher, but I'm not buying this front court. I think they'll probably win 35 to 37 wins based on the health. Now, if Jaylen Brown has some weird injuries or Derek White has an injury, then I think they win less than that. I wouldn't be surprised if they're at 25 to 30 wins this season, just because it's a gap here. So I don't expect much from my Celtics, and that's okay. Looking at the Brooklyn Nets, 21.5 wins, that feels about right. The draft just didn't make a lot of sense. The guys they went for, I just don't understand what they're thinking. The Charlotte Hornets, 24.5 wins. Now, the Hornets, to me, it just comes down to the health of LaMelo Ball. And, of course, Miller got hurt last year. But if LaMelo can stay healthy, I think they could reach 30 to 35 wins. I really do, because they brought in some guys like from Duke, Newpel, who has winning experience. They also brought in, who was it? Colin Sexton, a guy who's a vet. Guys who just win, Pat Connaughton, and they have Spencer Dinwiddie on the team. These are guys who have been around for a while. And of course, not the rookie, but you get what I'm saying. Guys who are high character. And I think that could bode well for them to get some extra wins. I think 24.5 is too low for the Hornets. I'm going to go 34 to 35. I think they'll be over this year. Chicago Bulls, 32.5 wins. That feels about right, but I think they can get more because of how they closed this season. Josh Giddey was fun to watch, and Buzelis is a great stud at the forward position, has a lot of potential, and you still have Kobe White. I think the Bulls can get to like 38 to 40 wins. I really believe that. You look at the Cavs, 55.5 wins. Getting Lonzo Ball, sneaky move. He's healthy and can play enough games and just give you 20 minutes off the bench. I do like that pickup because now you have more length at the backcourt position, and you can mix and match lineups with Mitchell and Ball or Garland and Ball. But I like what they did here, picking up Lonzo Ball, and that could help out with their backcourt. I really do believe that will be a good acquisition as long as he can stay healthy, and that's obviously a big if. But he's not going to have the role of starting, so I think that could bode well for the Cavs and under a radar move for the Cavaliers. So I think they're at probably 57, 58 wins. I'm a little bit over with the Cavaliers. Detroit Pistons, love this team. They got a lot of upside. They brought in Karis LeVert, Duncan Robinson. I know they lost Beasley, but I like those pickups because Duncan Robinson is a really good knockdown shooter. Karis LeVert's a bucket getter. So you have depth at the end of your bench, more versatility with offense. And at this point, when it comes to the Pistons, you got to hope that Ivy stays healthy because he was phenomenal. He got a fantastic start. And, of course, Cade Cunningham, we know enough about him. He was awesome. I think the Pistons are probably going to win 47 games. I really do. I'm going to go a little bit over with that. I think 45.5 might be a little bit low. The Indiana Pacers, 38.5 wins. This seems about right. I think they'll be competitive. I don't think they're going to just tank because they pride themselves in, being a team who doesn't just fold in the towel and, say our season's over. They compete. They're going to go out there and play basketball. You still got guys on this team like Andrew Nemhard. You still got Aaron Nesmith. I know they lost Miles Turner. But I think they're going to have a lot of pride, and I think Indiana will compete. You said TJ McConnell. So the Pacers should be a fun bunch, and I think they'll get to 38.5 wins. I really believe that. Or 38 wins, I should say. Miami Heat, 37.5 wins. Yeah, they got Norman Powell, but it's not a lot to be excited about Miami. I mean, Tyler Hero had a breakout year, and maybe that does get them a little bit higher in the win total. But I think 37 wins feels about right for the Heat. If they get higher than that, would I be surprised? No, but I'm going to go with 37 as a safe bet. Milwaukee Bucks, 45.5 wins. This feels kind of high. And the reason why I said because who is playing point guard for the Bucks? And are they going to have any type of resistance with their perimeter defense? I don't see it. Miles Turner would be great, but who can score off the dribble outside of just Giannis and put the ball on the floor? I think the Bucks are more like a 40-win team. Like seeing them this high, I understand Giannis is that good, but I don't buy into the Bucks at all. I think they're at 40 wins this year, and they're going to be struggling in the Eastern Conference. The New York Knicks, 52.5 wins. Seems about right. I like what they've done with their roster. They brought in Clarkson. They brought in Ubaselli. They brought in some guys who can come off the bench. I like Mike Brown as the higher. In my opinion, I think the Knicks will go higher, though. I think they'll be at 55 wins this year. So I'll go higher with the Knicks. I do like where they're heading. The Orlando Magic, 51.5 wins. It's tough because we're waiting for the Magic to take that leap on offense. Defensively, they are a nightmare to deal with. We're waiting for that leap from Paolo and Franz. Obviously, injuries did derail that momentum. They got off to a really good start with Paolo. It looked like he was going to enter into MVP conversations before he got that abdomen injury. And then you had the, abdominal injury. And then Franz had the abdominal injury. They had a similar injury. It was weird. Jalen Suggs went down. I do like the acquisition of Desmond Bane and adding Tyus Jones. I think that could be enough. So I think this would be the year that Orlando really takes a huge leap going forward. And I'm going to, sit there at 53 wins. So I'm going to go a little bit higher than Magic. On to the 76ers. It's really about health, right? Can Paul George and Joel Embiid stay healthy? But I do like their backcourt. I love McCain. He was a really good rookie before he got hurt. You still have Max. You have VJ, who is lining up, as I said, the summer league. The backcourt will be a lot of fun. Outside of that, when it comes to Embiid and Paul George, I don't know. I could see this team getting to 40 wins, though, just because of their backcourt alone. And I think they'll be competitive. I don't see them going below 40 wins. I'd be a little bit surprised by that. Even if Embiid's unhealthy, I like that they've got some really intriguing pieces in their backcourt. And maybe Paul George has a bounce back year or does a little bit better. So I think that's enough for 40 wins for the Sixers. But I'm going to go under with this one. The Toronto Raptors, 35.5 wins. They could be intriguing. You've got Scotty Barnes, you've got Brandon Ingram. But I don't know. Toronto's Toronto to me. They could surprise some people. Maybe they get to 43 wins because they play above their expectations. But yeah, I'll stick with the 35.5. And the Washington Wizards, we know enough about them. I do like the pickup of Trey Johnson. I love that draft pick. And I do like the fact they have Middleton, CJ McCollum. I know Marcus Smart is out right now because he's with the Lakers. But maybe they're surprising people. I'm going to go a little bit higher than 20.5. I'm going to go 27, 28 wins for the Wizards. Just because of the vets they have. I think they'll get their young guys playing with pride. And I think Alex Sarr will have an even better year. I think Carrington will be better. And you just got to expect those young guys to improve. So I like the mix of veterans on this team. I'm not saying they're a playoff team, but I think the Wizards could be a little bit better than 20.5 wins. But overall, the teams I expect to make the biggest leap this year is going to be the Atlanta Hawks. They're very intriguing. The Orlando Magic as well. And I do expect the Knicks to have a deep playoff run. In fact, I got the Knicks going to the NBA Finals. That's my prediction out in the Eastern Conference. Because I think, they've been battle tested in the playoffs. And I like Jalen Brunson. I like Cat. I love their starting five. And I like the fact they got a bench now. I don't trust Cleveland. I want to believe in them, but it just seems like over and over again, they can't be relied on the playoffs. So I'm going to go with the Knicks to make the NBA Finals. That's my early prediction. Of course, that is subject to change, but I am intrigued by the Hawks. I really am. And Orlando, they could be a tough out, but they're still young. They're probably a year or two away from getting to the finals and win the championship. You got to develop this stuff, but I like where Orlando's heading. It should be a fun year in the Eastern Conference. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the over-under wins on the Eastern teams. Do you agree or disagree? Who are your surprises this coming up season in the Eastern Conference? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.